Good evening. Please stand. The 40th meeting of the 73rd term of Baltimore City Council is now called to order. As a reminder for members of the press and the general public, please turn your phones on silent so we can conduct the meeting accordingly. Please also remember all members are expected to wear masks at all times. The council is vaccinated and double boosted. So we will speak without, some of us are triple boosted. We'll speak without a mask, but that is the expectation in the executive order. Our invocation this evening will be delivered by Reverend Jacina Wise of Bethel AME Church. Reverend Wise, thank you for joining us today. She's not going to only deliver us an amazing invocation, but if she wanted to, she could give us an amazing song, but I'm not going to put her out there. Reverend Wise, the floor is yours.
Eternal One, we thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight. Each of us coming with love for our wonderful city of Baltimore. We ask for your guidance tonight. We ask for your unity. We ask for your creativity. We ask you to bless us here tonight and let that blessing even move to the streets of Baltimore. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to state the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members, we have several guests joining us this evening. Please turn your attention to the balcony, actually down here, where we'll be joined by Baltimore Flamingos Rugby Club. We'll see more of them as they continue to bring in, is this? What are they going to bring in? Oh, got you. Okay, all right, thank you. So they'll be following, and we'll see them in the balcony shortly, and we're going to recognize them. You may also recall last week, Councilman Ramos reminded us of the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. That runs through mid-October, and we'll see several guests today donating their amazing orange polo shirts to recognize the growing and thriving Hispanic community here in the city of Baltimore. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Angelo Solera, the founder and executive director of the organization. They are a community-based nonprofit organization that's focused on education, preservation, and promotion of richness and diversity of the Hispanic, Latino culture, art, and artistic heritage throughout the Baltimore metropolitan area. At this point, please take the stage. The microphone is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come here today. I want to thank Councilwoman Ramos for inviting us to come here. My name is Angelo Solera. I'm here with my board members to talk to you about Nuestras Raíces, Inc. I know you had a hard time pronouncing it, so you probably just went directly to a community organization. You need to have the tongue rolling. So Nuestras Raíces, Inc. means our roots. Just by the raise of hands, how many of you have heard about Nuestras Raíces, Inc.? Wow, 2 people. That's beautiful. So Nuestras Raíces, Inc. is a 501c3 Hispanic Latino community-based cultural organization founded by myself, Angelo Solera, on February 2019. Our mission is to educate, promote, and preserve the richness and diversity of the Hispanic Latino culture and artistic heritage in the Baltimore metropolitan region. Next, please. So these are some of our board members. Some of them are here, and some of them are working or doing some of the stuff. Next, please. So our goals is, one of them is to change the narrative and misconception about the Hispanic Latino community by showcasing the richness and diversity of our culture and artistic heritage throughout the Baltimore metropolitan region. Also, to reconnect Latinos, U.S.-born children and their parents to their culture, heritage, through cultural and educational programs. Next, please. Objectives. How do we do that? You're probably thinking, okay, that's very nice. How do you do that? So we provide educational workshops, cultural events, festivals, parades, seminars. We also develop a network of cultural organizations within the Latino community. We also develop a network of sponsors, funders, foundations, because you need money to do the work. Also, we organize the annual cultural event, the largest and most anticipated Latino cultural event of the year, which is called Fiesta Baltimore. Have you heard of Fiesta Baltimore? Some of you have. So this is our 4th year. Also, another of our objectives is to create La Casa de la Cultura, the House of Culture, to educate, promote, and preserve the richness and diversity of the Latino culture. By the way, we just inaugurated our Casa de la Cultura a month ago in Baltimore City. Casa de la Cultura next is the first and only Latino cultural center in Baltimore City and in the state of Maryland. Casa de la Cultura is an educational, cultural, and empowering center to educate, promote, and preserve the richness and diversity of the Latino culture. A community space to reconnect young and older Latinos to their culture and to educate non-Latinos about the richness and diversity of the Hispanic Latino culture. Next, please. So this was the grand opening of La Casa de la Cultura. Happened September 13. It's a building, it's a house next to Salem United Methodist Church in Highlandtown. The address is 3403 Gulf Street. And we have a pretty nice event about a month ago to basically open our home. This was possible thanks to funding that we received from Friends and Merrick Foundation and Salem United Methodist Church. Next, please. So this is sort of what it looks. This is the day of the opening. So during the opening, we have a gallery inside of the house where we showcase 5 local Latino artists' artwork. So this is some of the artists and some of their artwork. Next, please. And this is what happened outside of the event. In the middle, you can see Councilwoman Ramos and Sig Cohen giving us mayor citation or council citation or something like that. And then some folkloric groups performing in the streets, which is part of what we try to do. We're trying to showcase the diversity and the richness in our culture. So this is what happened. If you were not there, you missed it. But don't worry, next year we'll do a 1-year anniversary, 2-year anniversary, so you're welcome to come. Next, please. So Fiesta Baltimore. Most of you have not heard of Fiesta Baltimore, but Fiesta Baltimore is the most anticipated Hispanic Latino cultural event of the year in the Baltimore metropolitan region. Includes an annual Latino cultural festival and a parade of Latino nations. In 2021, over 10,000 people attended this event. We're expecting 15,000 this year. This is happening in Baltimore, in East Baltimore, by the way. Next, please. So this is our first Fiesta Baltimore. It was 2019. This was the first time ever that we had something like this. So this is what happens at the stage, and there you see Sig Cohen, pretty happy to be with us there, supporting us. Next, please. So the next year was COVID-19. And you know, COVID-19, everything got canceled. And we had planned for Fiesta Baltimore, but after they canceled everything, we felt that it was important that the community could come out and be together for one day, so we created Fiesta Baltimore Caravan, which couldn't really not do it because there were cars driving on the street. So that's the way we got away with it, basically. And we had our cultural event on 2020. Next, please. This is last year. This is the stage with some of our board members, and you can tell we wear those yellow vests, because when we do Fiesta Baltimore, we're about working. We got traffic to control and horses and people, and it's a great event. And that was last year. And then next, please. And this is what it looks like this year. Fiesta Baltimore, Sunday, October 9th, Latino Cultural Festival in Patterson Park, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and the Parade of Latino Nations in Highlandtown at 1 o'clock. By the way, this is a free event open to the public. You don't have to be Latino to attend, because everybody's Latino that day, looks like. Now, I believe we're going to show you a video of what Fiesta Baltimore was last year, so you get an idea of what Fiesta Baltimore is going to look like this year. Play it, please.
Incorporated, a Latino cultural organization in Baltimore City, presents Fiesta Baltimore, Sunday, October 9th, 2022. The most anticipated Latino cultural event of the year in the Baltimore metropolitan region will include the 4th annual Latino Cultural Festival in Patterson Park from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., where you can enjoy the great diversity and cultural richness, including music, folklore, dance, delicious food and crafts from Latin America. You can also enjoy the 4th annual Parade of Latino Nations in the heart of Highlandtown. The parade will begin at 1 p.m. at 4000 Eastern Avenue and will end at the Cultural Festival in Patterson Park. Participating in the parade will be schools, universities, cultural and community organizations, folk groups, and music bands representing all Latin America. There will also be flags, cars, floats, rodeo horses, and much more. If you need more information, want to participate in the Cultural Festival or the Parade of Latino Nations, promote your business or organization, sell Latino food and crafts, be a volunteer, or if you want to be a sponsor of the event, contact us at 443-224-7592. This is a free community and family event open to the public, thanks to the financial support of the following sponsors.
Beautiful video, right? So you are all invited. Remember, Sunday, October 9th, 10 to 7. And this, I guess, conclude our presentation. Thank you for bringing us today to share with you who we are now. You know a little bit more about who Nuestras Raíces Inc. is. I would like to add that we've been around for 4 years, and we have not received any support from the city or from this body. So hopefully now that we do this presentation, maybe you guys know we exist, and maybe you can get some support. But thank you anyway for giving us the opportunity. I want to thank my board members who came with us to showcase.
Would you like to introduce them?
Sure.
Quick? Yeah.
So we have Misael Cortez, we have Ramon Cruzet, we have Romel Marmolejos, I'm sorry, Adriana Peleas, Lucia Islas, y Joali Islas. We have a few other members who are caught up in traffic somewhere, so we have about 10 board members.
Well, thank you so much. Please do not be a stranger to this body. We understand and know firsthand the importance of your growing community and what it means to the thread of the city of Baltimore. And we truly, truly thank you for all your hard work and your passion to continue to promote it and continue to help the city thrive and grow. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter, Costello, Stokes, Glover, Ramos. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please allow the journal to reflect that Councilwoman Porter is not with us tonight. She's unable to join, and her absence is excused. We'll now proceed to the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journal of the September 12, 2022 proceedings are on the council member's desk.
Without objection, the journal will be adopted. Hearing and seeing none, the journal is now adopted. Bills signed by the mayor can be found on page 2 of our agenda. We'll now proceed to bills being introduced tonight. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the first bill.
City Council Bill 22-0279, Urban Renewal Coldstream Homestead Montebello Amendment, for the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Coldstream Homestead Montebello to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This bill has been assigned to Economic Community Development. Madam Clerk, next bill.
City Council Bill 22-0280, Urban Renewal, Johnston Square Amendment. For the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Johnston Square to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area, to extend the life of the plan and to remove certain properties from the list in Appendixes A and B, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This bill has been assigned to ECD as well. Madam Clerk, next bill.
City Council Bill 22-0281, Urban Renewal Middle East Amendment. For the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Middle East to extend the life of the plan and to remove certain properties from the list in Appendixes A, C, and D, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to ECD as well. Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 22-0282, Urban Renewal Oliver Amendment. For the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Oliver to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area, to extend the life of the plan and to remove certain properties from the list in Appendixes B and C, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to ECD as well. Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 22-0283, Urban Renewal Poppleton Amendment. For the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Poppleton to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area, to extend the life of the plan and to remove certain properties from the list in Appendixes A and C, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to ECD. Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 22-0284, Sarah Ann Street Historic District. For the purpose of designating the area located within certain boundaries as the Sarah Ann Street Historic District. Sponsor is Councilmember Bullock.
The council would like to recognize the gentleman from the 9th District, Councilman Bullock. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. This proposed historic district in the Poppleton community, it includes 11 alley houses and 2 row houses that date back to the 1870s. We think it's really important to preserve this type of history, particularly around black home ownership that dates back to immediately following the Civil War. As many people know, the Poppleton community is also bearing many of the scars from the period of urban renewal and eminent domain and the demolition that occurred as a consequence. And so this is really a first step in terms of a better future for Baltimore and for folks in Southwest Baltimore and the Poppleton community. So I really appreciate the consideration of the council and support of our colleagues. And thank you so much, Mr. President.
No, Mr. Councilman, thank you for your leadership, not just for that community, but in interest of this topic for the past term. This bill has been assigned to ECD as well. Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 22-0285, Abundant Housing Act. For the purpose of amending certain provisions of the Baltimore City Zoning Code to promote increased development of low-density multifamily dwellings in certain residential districts, establishing standards for the conversion of single-family dwellings into low-density multifamily dwellings, establishing opportunities to increase density if a low-density multifamily dwelling is a certain distance from certain city amenities, amending certain permitted and conditional uses, amending certain bulk and yard standards, eliminating certain required off-street parking requirements, and defining certain terms. Sponsor is Councilmember Dorsey.
The body would like to recognize Councilman Dorsey. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to apologize for not being able to log on due to technical
We had technical issues. Somehow the technical guy got you. There's a couple of folks that couldn't get on.
For that reason, I wasn't able to present this bill to folks at the luncheon today, so I would like to ask for any co-sponsors to sign on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. About this bill. I'd be shocked if there were anybody here present or watching at home who wasn't aware that Baltimore City put forth the first racial zoning law anywhere in the country. I'd be shocked if there was anybody here who thought that we had actually done anything to reverse the effects of it particularly well. Essentially, when it was deemed unconstitutional to explicitly, racially, racistly zone where people can and cannot live, we here and nationally adopted race-neutral language to essentially codify the same outcomes of segregation that have, as at the same time, also created manufactured scarcity of housing to the point now where it's just literally impossible to increase housing opportunity in the majority of Baltimore City's neighborhoods. Middle-income neighborhoods in particular offer essentially no opportunity for expansion of housing opportunity. I, for one, believe that I live in a great neighborhood, and I would love for more people to have an opportunity to live in my neighborhood, for more people to be able to live in great neighborhoods like the one I enjoy. The Abundant Housing Act reverses the trend of manufacturing scarcity and codifying segregation, deciding where we can have housing and where we can't have more housing throughout Baltimore City. It follows a national trend of passing such reforms, and does so with the support now of the President of the United States of America, with the Biden House America program that is offering things like transit grant and transportation grant priority consideration to jurisdictions who take the effort to pass these zoning reforms because they recognize the historical and present inequities that result from exclusionary zoning policies like we have here in Baltimore City today. If you live in Sandtown in a 2,000 square foot house, that house can be turned into 2 or 3 apartments. But if you live in Hamilton in a house that's 2,000 square feet, or 3,000 square feet, or 4,000 square feet for that matter, that house can never, ever, under any circumstance, be more than 1 housing unit. That is the extent to which we are prohibiting more housing opportunity in our neighborhoods. Mind you, that same exact house can house 8 or 10 or 12 people when it's bought up and occupied for the purpose of a group home. But that same house as a group home that can occupy 8 or 10 or 12 people cannot be 2 apartments under any circumstance, with 1 person living in each of those apartments, or 2 small families living in those apartments. There is no logical rationale except to perpetuate segregation, that we maintain the zoning standards for housing that we have today, that we have had on the books for decades. It is far past time for us to reverse the exclusionary policies that Baltimore City pioneered, and which fortunately other places throughout this country have realized it is beyond time to reverse, having followed suit. And I believe it's time for Baltimore to continue this national trend of righting the wrongs of the past and creating more housing opportunity for people throughout our city. Thank you, Mr. President, and if I could, I'd like to ask for any co-sponsors.
Thank you, Councilman Dorsey. At this time, are there any co-sponsors of this bill? I see the hands raised of Councilman Cohen, Councilman Glover, Councilwoman Ramos, Councilman Burnett, Councilman Bullock. This bill, it will be assigned to committee as a whole. We will now move to resolutions being introduced for first reading. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the first resolution.
City Council Resolution 22-0136R, informational hearing, status of the Baltimore City Municipal Identification Card Program. For the purpose of inviting the city solicitor and representatives from the Department of Finance, the Mayor's Office of Information Technology, the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, and the Office of Equity and Civil Rights to discuss the status of the Baltimore City Municipal Identification Card Program, including obstacles, solutions, and a timeline for implementation. Sponsor is Councilmember Ramos.
Body would like to recognize Councilwoman Ramos. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. This resolution calls for a hearing regarding the municipal ID program that was passed by a prior council and not yet implemented. There are several groups of our residents that struggle to get official documentation and identification, and this program is designed to provide them with an official ID that is less cumbersome to get. People who are experiencing homelessness have obstacles when trying to obtain housing because they have to wait for paperwork to get their IDs. Members of our transgender older community often have obstacles to get proper ID, and members of our immigrant community who are not driving also lack proper ID. This is a program that is needed now to make sure that these groups and others have Baltimore City official ID. This hearing will help us understand where the challenges to implementation are and how we can help it come to fruition. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. This bill has been assigned to HET. Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 22-0137R, Informational Hearing, Hiring Initiative, Spanish Speakers. For the purpose of inviting representatives from the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, the Department of Human Resources, the Department of Public Works, the Department of Housing and Community Development, the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Department of Transportation, the Department of General Services, the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, and the Baltimore City Public School System to discuss the hiring of Spanish speakers for employment in city government. Sponsor is Councilmember Ramos.
The body would like to recognize Councilwoman Ramos at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. This resolution calls for a hearing about how residents who speak other languages are able to access city services. As many of my colleagues know, I asked each agency during budget hearings how many Latinos have they hired and who speak Spanish in their offices. So this is a follow-up on those questions and those hearings. I want to acknowledge that Baltimore City Health Department and also DOT has really done a great job in starting in that direction. So while each of our agencies have been trained on language line, it is imperative that at least some of our frontline workers look and speak the languages from all of our residents so that our growing communities, very diverse communities, can access services. Data regarding Hispanic and Latino residents in Baltimore City have consistently revealed detrimental underuse of city government services. For instance, Baltimore 311 services received 6,600,000 calls in English, but only 2,000 calls in Spanish between January 2020 and December 2021, suggesting a very critical underuse by Spanish-speaking residents. This hearing will be the discussion of where we are on hiring Latinos and Spanish speakers and what else is needed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ramos. This bill has been assigned to Education, Workforce, and Youth. Madam Clerk, 22138R.
City Council Resolution 22-0.
Oh, sorry. Co-sponsor, for the clerk, if you could please ensure that for 22-137R, we add the name of Councilman Zeke Cohen. Are there any additional? Councilman Dorsey, Chairman Conway, Councilman Dorsey, Councilman Burnett. Did I get everyone? Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could please, again, that bill has been assigned to Education, Workforce, and Youth. Madam Clerk, please move on to the next bill.
City Council Resolution 22-0138R, Informational Hearing, Coordination between Police Commissioner, School Police Chief, and Sheriff, for the purpose of inviting the Baltimore Police Commissioner, Chief of Baltimore City Schools Police, Baltimore Sheriff, State's Attorney for Baltimore City, and Deputy Mayor for Public Safety to explain to the City Council how the agencies and their officials coordinate planning and activities to engage public safety for the citizens of Baltimore. Sponsor is Chair Stokes.
At this time, the floor would like to recognize Chairman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know we've been having a lot of violent crime in the city, and I know that the commissioner is doing as much as he can. Just want to bring the commissioner, the city chief of schools, the Baltimore Sheriff's Office, State's Attorney's Office, Deputy Mayor of Public Safety together to find out how they're addressing crime and make sure they are working together to address crime, not just bring it before the city council, but bring it before the residents, because I've been getting calls about why are they all working together. And the idea is that they can report back out, not just to the city council, but to the citizens of Baltimore. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Stokes. That bill has been assigned to Public Safety and Government Operations. You can find the consent calendar on Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? It's been moved and probably seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The calendar is adopted. We will now move to bills on second reader. Before we do so, I would like to recognize Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we read short titles for second and third reader for the duration of the hearing.
Thank you, Chairman Costello. At this point, there's a motion on the floor for us to read bills on short reading. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, we'll be in short reading for the remainder of the meeting. Madam Clerk, if you could please go to 22-0221.
City Council Bill 22-0221, zoning conditional use conversion of single-family dwelling unit to 2 dwelling units in the R7 zoning district, variance 2315 Utah Place.
The body would like to recognize Madam Vice President and Chair of ECD. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bill number 22-0221 was heard on September 13th, 2022. I move the findings of facts.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The finding of the facts are now adopted. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
I move the amendments.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted.
And I move the bill favorable as amended.
It's been moved and properly seconded to move the bill favorable as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This bill is adopted and will be printed for, well, the bill is passed on second reading and will be printed for third reading. Madam Clerk, 22-246, please.
City Council Bill 22-0246, York Corridor Business Improvement District Establishment.
Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Bill number 22-0246 was also heard on September 13th, 2022. And before we do our vote, I yield to the councilperson of the 4th District.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I appreciate the opportunity and really appreciate working with you and the rest of the committee on this bill. As you guys know, this bill will hopefully create a business improvement district on the New York Road Corridor, which is, of course, in many ways the beating heart of the 4th District. And so really excited to get it through second reader today and of course through third reader, but appreciate the support from all my colleagues on this effort and the work that we did in getting this bill through. So thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you.
And on that note, I move the amendments.
It's been moved and probably seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted.
And I move the bill favorable as amended.
It's been moved and properly seconded to move the bill forward as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. And all those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The bill will be printed for third reading. Now we're going to go to Rules and Legislative Oversight. Madam Clerk, 22-257.
City Council Bill 22-0257, Police Department of Baltimore City, Police Districts Redistricting.
At this time, the body would like to recognize the chair of the committee, Chairman Schleifer. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee hold a hearing on Bill number 22-0257 on September 8th, and we are reporting it favorable. So I'd like to move the bill favorable.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Please note that there are 2 nays. Chairman, what? Yeah. Chairman Stokes and Chairman Costello. He's making sure my ears were working right. For nay, as well as Councilman Glover. You missed that, Matt. So that's a total of 11 in the affirmative and 13. 13-3-1. That's 17. See? I was right. For once in public, I was right in front of Matt. No. 10-3-1. That's what it is. At this time, so that bill passed and will be printed for third reading. At this time, we're going to go to committee announcements. Madam Clerk. Well, actually, we're going to go straight to the chairs. If you hear your name, please stand if you have announcements. First, we're going to go to ECD. Madam Vice President. They're going to come down, Matt. All right, cool. Next, we're going to go to Education, Workforce, and Youth. Next, we're going to Health, Environmental Technology. Chairwoman McCray, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Health, Environment, and Technology Committee is rescheduling its hearing on Resolution 22-0103R, investigational hearings to which backup, expedited reimbursement, and direct assistance program feasibility study, to Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 at 10 a.m. This hearing was originally scheduled for September 21st, 2022. The hearing will be held in the council chamber and also through WebEx for public participation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next up, we're going to go to Public Safety and Government Operations. Mr. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Safety and Government Operations, we have two announcements. We will be meeting on Thursday, October 6, 2022, to hear Bill LO 21-0006, Quarterly Crime Stats and Violence Prevention Plan at 2 p.m., both virtually and in person. And the Public Safety and Government Operations Committee will be hearing Bill 22-0122R, Informational Hearing, Public Safety and Surveillance Technology, sponsored by Councilman Burnett at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, October 19th, both in person and virtually. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rules, Legislative Oversight. Floor would like to recognize Chairman Slifer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on Bill number 22-0121R on September 29th at 1 p.m. And that is informational hearing on the primary election irregularities. And I'd like to move to suspend Rules 10.2 and 10.3 to announce a hearing for a resolution that was introduced at this meeting.
There's a call on the floor to suspend Council Rules 10.2 and 10.3. Hearing or seeing no objection, they will be suspended. The rules are suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on Bill number 22-0132R on Thursday, September 29th at 1:30 p.m. It's an informational hearing for Johns Hopkins University Police Department and Baltimore City Police Department Memorandum of Understanding. And the Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on Bill number 22-0252 on Thursday, September 29th at 2:30 p.m. And that is for commercial vehicle monitoring systems. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And certainly last but not least, Ways and Means. Anything from Ways and Means? No announcements at this time. We're going to go over to regular announcements at this time. Members, please wait to be recognized if you have a regular announcement. We do have a small presentation today, so first up, I'm going to call Chairman Costello. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Hosea, and Mr. President. Mr. President, I have two different special guests. First, I wanted to take a moment to recognize the Baltimore City Flamingo Rugby Football Club. They play in the International Gay Rugby League. They play in the International Gay Rugby League. They're here with their coaches, Kirk Wiggins, Benji Click, and J.R. Wong. And on August 21st, 2022, they traveled up to Canada and won their first international championship, the Bingham Cup, the Challengers Cup. And I am proud to say that this small gentleman right here, Kevin Hayes, who many of you know, works in my office, and I cannot tell you how incredibly proud I am of Kevin and all of his teammates and what you've done representing our city. So thank you very much. Mr. President, if you want to come down, I know we have a resolution.
So if you guys could bunch up a little bit, try to make 2 rows.
And Mr. President, I have a City Council resolution here. Do you want to read this, Mr. President? Yes, sir. City Council of Baltimore resolution. Be it hereby known to all that the City Council of Baltimore offers its sincerest congratulations to the Baltimore City Flamingo Rugby Club in recognition of your 2022 Challenger Cup victory and work promoting the game of rugby across Baltimore City. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 19th day of September 2022, signed by Council President Mosby and all members.
Give another round of applause for the Baltimore Flamingos. Back to you, Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is the first time I've had guests with special floor privileges in like 5 years, so I'm going to do 2 in a row today. We all know how important our neighbors are to us, especially in Baltimore City. I hit the absolute next door neighbor lottery jackpot when Amy moved in next door to me a few years ago, maybe 8 years ago now. And about 5 years ago, she had a son, someone who I've grown incredibly close with, someone I would consider one of my best friends. Tomorrow, Amy's going to be moving with her son back to the West Coast. This is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do because of how close I've grown with them. So I had something for Jack. And Jack, it's not as cool as the Ravens or the Orioles hat I got you in the last week or the baseball game we went to. But the City Council of Baltimore resolution, be it hereby known to all, that the City Council of Baltimore offers its sincerest congratulations to Jack David Sanfilippo in recognition of being the best next-door neighbor anyone could ever ask for. Wishing you all the best in your new kindergarten class out west. Good. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 19th day of September 2022, signed by the Council President and all members.
Give it up for Jack. Thank you, Chairman Costello. At this time, the floor would like to recognize Chairwoman Ramos.
I'm not the chair yet, but.
Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you.
I like the confidence.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to ask members in the chamber and also members of the public to give big prayers to Puerto Rico, going through a major hurricane again. I could get into all the political stuff I want to say about how horrible it is that we're going through this again, and all of our infrastructure is ruined again because it wasn't fixed correctly the first time. And that's not Puerto Rico's fault. That's someone else's fault, as we know. So I'm very upset about it. So far, my family's okay, which is good news, but that's not always the case for everybody else on the island. So give us your prayers today. Thank you.
Madam Vice President, if we could add the citizens of Puerto Rico, we're going to keep them in our prayers for a moment of silence. I see the hand raised of Councilman Torrance. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I just wanted to extend you a heartfelt thank you for your prayers, your text messages, your phone calls. Many of you know I lost my grandmother just 3 weeks ago. Still fighting the fight in this job, but knowing that every day I'm working not only for the citizens of the 7th District in Baltimore City, but I'm still working in her memory and her legacy. And thank you for your prayers.
Thank you. We added her name again to our moment of silence at the last meeting, Councilman Torrance. Any additional? I see the hand raised of Chairman Conway. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge a couple of folks who made the trip down today from the 4th District. Here to actually advocate on behalf of issues with water bills and affordability here in the city, and so just wanted to acknowledge Bill Gooden and the team over here from the 4th District. So appreciate you guys coming down.
Please stand.
Yeah. Please stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr.
Mr.
Goodwin, this is not the appropriate time.
Yeah.
No, I was just asking you to stand. We know you, Mr. Goodwin. The entire city knows you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. We appreciate it. Are there any additional announcements? No, I would like to take the personal privilege of recognizing a close friend of mine, Susan Ramos, in the back. If you could please stand real quick to be recognized. And then last but certainly not least, we have a birthday celebration today. So huge shout out and birthday wishes to our Zeke Cohen, Ezekiel Cohen, Councilman for the 1st District. And I believe we have one additional announcement. Chairman Conway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I almost forgot. I wanted to acknowledge that this is the 14th, or tomorrow will be the 14th anniversary of the death of former Councilman Ken Harris. Wow. And so I wanted to acknowledge him in our moment of silence later on.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Please add that, Madam VP. Is that it for announcements? At this time, Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
And I also want to add the family of Keon Smith, known as Johnny. He was one of the young men that didn't make it from the mass shooting that had taken place a few weeks ago on Shirley Avenue. So I'm going to also add his family to the list. And again, that's the family of Keon Smith. And the next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, October 3rd, 2022 at 5 p.m. And may we have a moment of silence for former council member Kenneth Harris of the 4th District. Also, the families that are continuing to withstand the storm in Puerto Rico, and also for the many families that continue to suffer from our opioid epidemic and our homicide increase. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no new business before the desk, and we thank you, Jack. I was concerned. I didn't know if you were going to be able to hold it out for 30 seconds in that silence. But there being no new business before the desk, this concludes the 40th meeting of the 73rd term of your Baltimore City Council. Baltimore, we absolutely love you.